Are you in the market for a wired outdoor security camera that gives you the option of using either Wi-Fi or Ethernet, that shoots 2K video, has onboard storage, person detection for free, and doesn't require a hub? If so, you're in the right place. Hello, I'm Wanderer001, and this is my review of the TP-Link Tapo outdoor Wi-Fi security camera. That's right, TP-Link has another brand, Tapo, that you might not be familiar with if you're like me and living in the US. Now, TP-Link did reach out to me and provided me with the outdoor camera here for the purposes of an unbiased review, letting you know my thoughts on this particular camera. And like I stated, Tapo is not a brand that's very familiar in the US. However, if you're watching this and you're over in the UK, you've probably heard of the Tapo brand. I've had experience with the parent company, TP-Link, in the past. In fact, one of my primary smart plug go-tos. Review over there in the corner. One of the things that I like to do when I get a camera is really thoroughly test it. In fact, when I see a outdoor camera that doesn't have dirt on it, let's see if I can get any of this to focus in, letting you know that it was outside for a period of time, I question your review. I have had this particular camera outside for about 2 months, experiencing all sorts of weather. It's during the summertime right now where I am, so I've had it in heat up to 95 degrees and 100% humidity because, well, it has gotten rained on, because it is IP66 weather resistant, meaning you don't really have to worry about water and this device. You have these antennas right here. Well, that helps to keep the body of this relatively small in that your Wi-Fi antennas are exterior, and they'll also kind of help you aim this and come up with some weird looking things there to help you locate your Wi-Fi signal. Now, that Wi-Fi signal is going to only be 2.4 gigahertz. This is not a 5 gigahertz device. What that means is you get further distance, but not faster speeds. However, even with the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, I have had no problems with the video quality, and that's including the fact that I keep this on my IoT network, which has several other cameras bogging down the network. So we talked about our antennas. On the top of the device, you actually don't have anything because, well, they've kind of moved some stuff to the exterior of the device. On the side, you have Tapo branding and this kind of accent strip all the way around it. Coming to the front of our Tapo camera here, you're going to notice a few things. We have our lens here. This is a 4MP 2K lens. This is going to get you that crisp video quality that you're looking for. You want to be able to zoom in and see somebody's face. You are looking at a 2560 by 1440 aspect ratio and 15 frames a second. And that's kind of standard for a lot of surveillance cameras. One of the things that I like to see, especially in an outdoor camera, is some sort of starlight sensor. It's kind of the buzzword that's been going around, but what that means is the light sensor, as long as there's enough ambient light around, you will actually be able to get colored night vision with this camera. Some people prefer the black and white, but don't worry, you have that option with this camera as well. Some things to look at over here on our side. We have these up here. Well, guess what? You get 2 LED lights with this, and that kind of acts as a floodlight, letting you kind of see what's going on outside, as well as if you have a specific setting, which we'll talk about a little later. For night mode, the LED lights will come on, night vision will turn off, colored night vision will turn on, and you get an idea of what you're looking at in color instead of black and white. That's nice. They're there. They're white, so some people prefer a little warmer, but if you're using this as a spotlight or a security camera, I personally like the white. Underneath that, you have 2 IR lights. For those that enjoy night vision, black and white, the 2 IR lights are effective up to 98 feet away from the device. For most people, depending on how far you have this from your house, that's going to be plenty of light to let you see what you're looking at. Moving down, right there, might be a little tricky to see, but that is your LED status light. My recommendation that even though you can turn this off in the settings, you want to leave that on for a particular aspect, which we're going to touch on a little later. If we come to the underside of the device, you're going to see right there, that is your microphone, so you can use this to talk to people and have them talk back to you. Because of that, there also is a speaker on the underside of the device, which I do appreciate, because if it was on the top of the device, you'd have to have an extra membrane on there to help keep water out. If it's underneath the device, you don't have to worry about that because water will kind of cascade around it and not be hitting directly into the grill. Now, you might be looking at this going, well, what is this? This is where your micro SD card and reset button for the device are located. You might also notice that, well, there are screws there. Yes, this panel here requires you to use a eyeglass screw in order to open up this door to take out the SD card. So if you're worried about somebody ripping this off your wall and then stripping out your SD card, well, there's an extra layer of protection on the device, so it will hinder and slow down, but not prevent entirely. Because again, something like this, even if it's mounted to your wall, is not 100% effective. But I've had other outdoor cameras where it was just a rubber gasket that you could pop off and pull the SD card out of. Now, I did say that there was free onboard storage, and that's through the SD card. That SD card can be up to 256 gigs in size. However, if you don't want to just rely on the SD card, TP-Link does offer a subscription model which will allow you to save clips to the cloud, but it is not required for the usage of this device. If we come around to the back, this is where things get interesting. If you've never had a wired camera before, for their Tapo line, you'll notice they saved a little money making this out of plastic. It is kind of an elbow joint which will allow you to kind of mount and move this to where you like, and you would then screw down your tightening facet there to hold it in place. We'll loosen that up. You also have your mounting plate right there, and you'll notice, because like I said, this is a wired camera, there is a wire sticking out the back of it. It does have a channel for the wire, so you can feed that in and have it mount flush to whatever you're actually mounting it to. But we're gonna pull it a little further down, because here we have two cables attached to the back. One is our power cable right here. There is a little rubber gasket that you get along with the Tapo Outdoor here, which will help make this watertight, so you don't have to worry about that. The other cable right here is if you happen to have access to Ethernet outside. This is actually a wired Ethernet connection that you could have for the Tapo if you don't want to use it over Wi-Fi. Myself, I don't have Ethernet outside, so what I ended up doing was taking some electrical tape and covering that up while it was outside in the rain. Now, coming down, we have the power brick for the device, and you can see it kind of looks a little mussed there. I have no real complaints about this. Depending on where your electrical outlet is, it might be a little short. And again, it's personal preference whether you can get this into your electrical outlet and not have to use an extension cord. My one complaint with the power brick, at least for the US model, is it's kind of chunky, and if you're using a weather protected outdoor outlet, you might not be able to close your weather protected outlet all the way because this is kind of chunky. It's a small hit against the Tapo's design. Now, you do get other things in the box with your camera, aside from your power cable. You get a sticker mounting guide, which is always nice to have. You also get mounting hardware. And I like the fact that you have anchors as well as screws. Now, this, when I first got it, I was not sure what this was. This is actually a way that you can protect your Ethernet cable and make it water resistant, because these pieces slip over this connector point here and your Ethernet cable, making it watertight. And you normally have one other little plastic bag for that little O-ring there, that rubberized O-ring, to help make this waterproof. I kind of wish they threw it in, maybe with the mounting hardware, because it just feels like it's a waste for just a little O-ring, because you have a bag this size for one little O-ring. Just a thought for the future. Now that you have a good idea of the actual Tapo outdoor hardware, well, obviously, you need to set this up. It is useless to you if you don't actually have this connected. So let's take a look at how easy it is to set up the Tapo Outdoor. This is setup of the TP-Link Tapo Outdoor. First off, you're gonna need the Tapo app from TP-Link. It is different than the Casa app, so if you already have that, you will have to download this. However, the username and password, if you have a Casa account, can be used with the Tapo account right here. So log in or create an account, and then you'll be brought to this screen. If you don't have any other cameras installed already, you'll see an icon right there asking you to set up a camera. If you already have some like I do, you simply come up to the upper right-hand corner right there, select the plus sign with the circle, and then we're gonna come down and find our camera. In our case, we are looking for the C320WS right here. We select that, and it's letting us know how do we want to set this up. Do we have Ethernet connection or do we have wireless? Depending on your situation at your home, you probably are going to be like me and use the wireless. However, it is very good that you do have the option for wired if you are set up for that. It is a nice feature of this camera. We are going to select next. It is asking us to plug it in. I already have the power supply plugged in. We are simply going to plug that in. And then it might be a little hard to see right there, but there is a red light. It's steady. We're going to wait until it starts blinking. It can take up to 30 seconds to actually do, so don't feel bad if it takes a little time for that to start. All right, again, hard to see, but it is starting to blink. We are going to select next. It wants us to enable location. I'm going to say only this time so that the two can talk to each other. We are going to select next because it's still blinking and we've allowed location. We are going to connect to this Wi-Fi network that this is creating for itself. And just like that, it brings us to enter your Wi-Fi credentials right here. I'm going to select next. And just as I've said with any other of these Tapo products, I do not particularly care for the fact that they show in plain text the actual SSID and password. We're going to select next and allow it to connect to the Wi-Fi network.
Connecting to Wi-Fi.
And there you might have heard connecting to Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi connected.
And it just said Wi-Fi connected. And that's letting me know that that loud bing lets me know that it has been connected to the Wi-Fi. And I swiped away Alex A because you can set that up with these products. And this is, again, one thing that I don't particularly care for is that even though it is connected, this will just keep going and going and going, even though it's done. So I'm going to select the X in the upper corner there and select exit. And I know that it's good because I've done this several times before. And it's letting me know, hey, if I want to move this stuff around, that's how I can move it around. This is our new device right here. Selecting it, we have instructions, welcome to, we're gonna go, events, full color night sight, smart night vision, AI person detection, and active zones. We're gonna hit OK. And then we're gonna turn this that away so it doesn't show me on camera. And there we go. Setup of the outdoor TP-Link Tapo. Now that we have the Tapo set up, let's talk about some of the other things to consider because this is a wired device. That means, one, it's going to be drawing power all the time. Is that bad or good? Well, that's up to you. You're getting a wired outdoor security camera for a reason. One of the biggest downfalls for a battery-powered outdoor security camera is it takes time for the generally PIR sensor to recognize heat and movement to then send you a notification letting you know that, hey, something's happening, something's moving. With a wired security camera, you don't have that problem. It's using a pixel-based, hey, I noticed there's a difference in this image, let me send you a notification. And if you've selected just to be notified for people, then it's looking, the AI system is looking for objects that resemble people before it sends that to you. And because it's wired, it's going to do it very quickly. But one other thing to consider, because it's always plugged in, how much power is it actually using? Well, when it's idle, meaning you're not actively looking through the camera, it's just sitting on your Wi-Fi network, you are looking at using 2.2 watts of power. When it is in night mode and you have the IR lights on, it uses 3.4 watts of power. And when you use the LEDs, it jumps up to 3.6. None of those numbers are considerably high, considering, one, you're not always going to be looking at it through IR, and you're not always going to have the LED lights on. For the most part, you're just going to have this idling on your network. So 2.2 is well within the range of being more than acceptable for power usage for this. Now, another thing that you might not have thought about with an outdoor camera like this, I've tested several others in the past, they all require a hub to bridge the outdoor camera to your Wi-Fi network. The Tapo Outdoor here does not require a bridge. It talks directly to your Wi-Fi network. And part of that is due to these antennas, which help it have more range than you would normally have with an outdoor security camera. They would normally shove the antennas into the camera itself, which, if they're trying to keep the form factor small, does not mean that they're going to be great antennas. Tapo, by having them outside here, allow you to places further away from your house and still have connectivity without needing a third-party peripheral in order to do that, which I really appreciate. After your general hardware, the make or break for a security camera is always the application and all of the extras that it allows you to do with the camera. The hardware is fine. That's one component of it. However, the app is going to make or break a device. And I'm going to say, having never tested a Tapo device before, I was actually very surprised with the amount of things that you could do within the application for free, mind you. There's a lot that you can do for free. There is a paid subscription, but those do not limit the functionality of the camera in any way, shape, or form. They only act as enhancements, so you don't need it to use the camera. But let's take a look at the application for the Tapo Outdoor. This is the Tapo app for the Tapo Outdoor Security. As you can see here, I have several other Tapo cameras. Currently, I have them listed as offline, and I only have my outdoor camera online. The one thing about this page in particular that I kind of dislike is the fact that all of these just come in as Tapo camera. Nowhere in the actual setup process do they allow you to change the name. You have to go into the application and change the name after the fact. I understand that that is a small gripe, but one that I want you to be aware of while we look at this application. Up here, you can see I have a little envelope. It's letting me know, here's all the things that have happened. Motion detection, person detection. Selecting the notification will allow you to take a screenshot, turn on and off the volume, but also, more importantly, download, which will add it to your memories. So if Tapo automatically detects somebody and sends you a notification about it, you can download it rather than having to do the other steps that we'll talk about later. Next to that is how we can add other devices to this account. And then right here, it lists, hey, you have 3 cameras, and it will show all 3 of the cameras. Currently, I have them off. My Tapo Outdoor here, we give that a second, and there is my actual live feed. Now, coming down to our menu right here, you've got this grid one. So if you have multiple Tapo cameras, you can select that, and if the cameras are on, they will show up in this grid and all show as live feeds. You can also, right from here, select and add other cameras as long as they're online. I'm going to go back to our singular view right here, because you'll notice at the bottom, we also have 1 of 32. So if you want to have 32 different cameras and just swipe through them all, you can add them here and be able to do that. Now, our live feed here will automatically adjust if we turn our camera, our phone, sideways. And you can see it appears to be a bug crawling on my lens. And just to prove you can't make things up, got the bug to finally go away. But I wanted to have this view open because when you do a double tap, it zooms you all the way in. And I get, sometimes you want to zoom all the way in very quickly, but I wish they had a stepped way of doing that. But you can kind of see actually how well the detail is when you zoom in all the way. And then double tap pulls it all the way back out. And we're going to bring it back to our view here to finish talking about our buttons. Here we have our snapshot, which will allow us to take a snapshot of what is visible. We have our record button, which also comes into play later, so it's not just for the live feed, it's also for other things which we'll discuss. And then here we have our sound. Do you want to hear anything? So here we go, camera's microphone. It's at the recommended, but we can adjust as needed. And then we'll tap off of that. And just like before, if I tap on that, it will switch it to a large view mode. Right up here, if it's nighttime, you can toggle that on and off. That's actually the lights for that. You can see it actually flips down to the night filter because it thinks it's nighttime because you're turning on the light. Moving down, we have our talk. So if I press this, it will bring up my talking options. You press and hold, and then you can start talking. So if I start talking, people outside will hear me and think I'm crazy. Over here, we actually have microphone and camera speaker settings separately, which is nice. I like the fact that there's a toggle for that. Selecting the arrow down moves that away. Here, we can do a video call. So if we want to, we can actually call. So this is a video call as opposed to a quick talk through the microphone. Notice, really have to hang up when you're done. Privacy mode, well, selecting privacy mode will actually turn off the live feed from the camera. That means nothing is being recorded and nothing is visible to you. To turn it off, simply tap and it will turn itself back on. We'll give that a moment to re-establish the connection, and it does it fairly quickly because it actually is plugged in and not a battery powered camera. Down here we have our alarm. Selecting that will actually activate the alarm outside. Here we have our Tapo Care. Again, this is part of that subscription. Currently I am in the subscription. So one device is rounded up $3.50 a month for the basic. And then they give you discounts. And if you do yearly, there you go, $35 for, And just like we did before, unlimited cloud storage, exclusive AI, rich notifications, custom privacy zones, and motion tracking should you have a camera that supports that. And that's gonna reestablish it once again. And right here, we have our playback and memories. This is primarily what you're going to use. This is why you would use it with an SD card. Selecting this will bring you into your playback and memories. So right here, this is all the playback. So these are the clips that are saved to the SD card. One of the things, and that's what was bugging me before, no pun intended. What I like about the timeline here, you'll notice that it says motion clip, person detected, and it changes the color. So there you go, that's actually me walking around in the rain to grab the garbage cans. But if we zoom in, and you can zoom in on your timeline, you can see there's a green chunk which indicates a person, and then here on the timeline, it's orange, that indicates just movement. So what it does is it will bring you over to that. Now, another thing that I like about the timeline, right here, we have the ability to speed things up to 16 times speed, or slow them down to 1/16. This is the first camera that I've actually seen that will allow you to do that on the SD card. And then we're just gonna pinch to bring that back into focus. Right up here, you have access to your calendar. So any one of these days, I can select it and go back to it, and it will tell me exactly what has gone on. That's all under our playback. And I'll save you the spider that's right there. If we come to our memory, these are things that I have opted to keep. A memory can be recorded either from the live feed using the record function there, or from any one of our playbacks right here. This is the thing that I wish they did better. I have to select record on a particular object to get it into my memories so that I can download it to my phone. It just seems like it's an extra step for something that should be a little simpler. One downfall with that particular layout. Coming down here, this is our cloud video storage. So if you opted to pay for or are testing the 30-day free trial, your cloud videos will go here. Selecting more, again, we'll see dates. You can see I haven't been doing the cloud storage on this device for all that long, but you can see it's indicating, hey, here's all the triggers that it has. The one thing you will notice that it's not doing is letting me know if it's a person. It's just saying, I recorded something. You should go check that out. So this could use a little work. I understand that it's mainly just for cloud storage of your video clips. So whether it's motion or a person setting it off, it's saving it to the cloud. I guess that's good, but I kind of like the SD card a little better. And then down here you have access to your Tapo Care. Now that's all the stuff that we can do with the camera itself. However, coming up here to the right hand corner, there is a sprocket icon. Selecting the sprocket icon will bring us into the options for the particular camera. Right up here, this is where you will need to go and rename your camera if you want to be able to tell them apart from any other Tapo camera that you have. Right here we have our icon and location. So you can actually select from a pretty decent amount of stuff to indicate what this is. Now you have your time zone right there. Tapo Care, again, like I said, that is our free trial. Invert image, if you happen to have the camera upside down, it will rotate the image so it looks right side up. You have your status light indicator on and off. And here we have our privacy zone. So if I select privacy zones, I can actually designate maybe don't go here. So if I add a zone, we'll say right over here. That's privacy zone. And the custom zone cannot be viewed or monitored. So if you're worried about a particular area is coming and going and you don't want it to be notified or captured, that's how you would do that. I'm going to turn off privacy zones, and I'm going to state, do keep in mind that some of the things that I am showing you do require the subscription in order to use. Now we have night mode settings. You have several different options. You have infrared mode only, meaning it will go, as you might expect, a black and white picture using infrared. You have your full color mode, which is, well, hey, it will always use the lights and colored night vision. And then you have your smart, which is it normally will run the infrared and then switch over to the color mode if it detects motion of a substantial nature. Here we have our light brightness. I have them up to max because I want to blind and use them as a floodlight. Coming down, we have our detection and alerts. Detection only, so here we have motion is turned on. And then for each of these, you can toggle it on and off and then select your sensitivity. And then right here, I have a particular active zone for my motion. We have our AI detection, it's on, and it's on person detection, so it will look for people. Line cross detection I had on but turned off. It's interesting because let's say right here, that's actually where I had it set up. If somebody passed that, I wanted it to notify me. The problem was headlights would flash through there and it would notify me. So it's a little too sensitive, but that's kind of a cool feature that you can set up if you want, hey, don't pay attention to this area, but also if somebody crosses this, let me know. The beauty of this one also is that you can schedule it. So here you can see on all the time, or we can say coming up to edit, turn that off, and you can set up the white spots won't. So you can go through there and set something up if you wanted to. I'm going to turn that back off so I don't forget. Area intrusion detection. Again, this was another one I tested but turned off. Here you can see I had an active zone set up. This is an area that will notify you if a person enters the area. So it's different than just generally looking for person detection or looking for motion or a no-go zone. There's a lot of customization here, which I really appreciate. You can get into the nit and gritty of what this is actually going to tell you based on what it's seeing. And I have a very small area that I'm monitoring, but if you have a larger area, there's lots that you can do here. Camera tampering, this is okay. Really, I get alerts if a bug flies by or if it gets wet. I thought it would be if somebody shook it. So this is something that's okay, and I probably would not use it, but it's nice that it's there. Activity notifications, coming in here, we have activity notifications, rich notification turned on. Remember, this one you do have to pay for. Send me a notification always or a custom time. So you can set every day. You can set yourself a schedule if you wanted to. I have it to always because I want to always know what's going on. And then camera alarm off. I have it off. We can select it on, which will, if it detects motion, what will it do? The alarm type, right now it's set for sound and light. You can do sound or light, meaning just flash or just yell at people. Alarm sound, you've got siren or you have tone. Sadly, you cannot hear those through the app. I wish they would let you do that. You have all day or customize a schedule. If you're in a high traffic area like I am and cars will set it off, not recommended to do that because your neighbors are probably not going to enjoy that very much. But it's nice that it's there. That was all under detections and alert. We've got our micro SD card. Right now you can see it's good. It's letting you know it's going to do loop recording, meaning when it gets to the end of the SD card, it will automatically go back to your oldest stuff and rewrite it. If you don't like that, you can actually turn that off, which is kind of nice. This is one of the first cameras that I've seen that will allow you to turn that option off if you just want to swap out the SD cards on your own. Here we've got micro SD card recording, so you can turn that off and not have it go to the SD card at all and only send you a notification or send it to the cloud. Your choice. Recording schedule, well, I have it all the time, but just like we could before, we can edit and we can select. Continuous recording, continuous recording, continuous recording. Right now it's on detection recording, which we can swap back. It will even let you select don't record, but we're not going to do that. And we're coming down to video quality. Well, you've got your 4MP, which is going to be your highest resolution. You've got your full 1080 and then data saving 720, which is still considered HD. Either way, between 4MP and 1080p, you will notice some of those granular differences, but not as much as if you do 720 to the 4MP. Coming down, we've got our advanced settings. Selecting this, well, camera account, can create an account for just this camera. Record audio, on or off. On-screen display settings, which will allow us to display timestamp. You can adjust the timestamp. Display text, and then text to be displayed, you can change that. So if you want to say garden camera, you could. And then logo display is the Tapo logo display. Privacy mode, on or off. This is another area that you can access it to. Power line frequency. So if you have this actually plugged in, you can select power line frequency, whether that's auto, 5 Hertz, or 60 Hertz. If you don't know what that is, don't mess with it. Diagnostics, on or off. Do you want to enable TP-Link to receive diagnostic information from your camera? Share device. Selecting this will allow you to share your device. You have to select share and invite a person with limited permissions. They will need their own Casa Tapo app account in order to share the information. And then last but not least, you have reboot camera and remove camera. And we're going to come back all the way to the front of our Tapo app because that was all the stuff we could do for the outdoor camera. But I want to show you this section right down here very quickly, which is we're currently on our home. We have our smart actions, which will allow us to set up things that it will do when we leave, when we arrive, go to bed, turn off based on sunset. any one of these will allow you to do things. Here we can see smart plug, smart bulb, smart light strip, camera. So you can enable privacy automatically when you leave your house if you wanted to use those. Shortcuts, well, I don't have any shortcuts set up, but we could, if we wanted to, add a shortcut, enable or disable. I'm not gonna walk through that, just know shortcuts are there. And automations, also based on if I select this, then this thing happens. Last at the bottom here is your account, and we're gonna just get the name out of the way. Right here, we have our firmware for our particular camera. We have our notification settings, promotional messaging, firmware updates, micro SD card status, and then Tapo device status. It's all from our notifications. Tapo Care, if you pay for it. Camera preferences, well, here we go. Live tag, and this I like, the fact that there's a picture there. If I select live tag, notice now it says live in the corner. Speed tag, well, now it says the kbps, and I can do both. I like that they give you a visual of what you're looking at. You've got your vibration on or off. Do you want your phone to not only notify you, but vibrate, help and feedback, and then about. We also have access to our cloud videos. So if I come here, this is where we can select which camera we would do. Third-party services, and then device sharing. Again, this is just another location that you could do that from, but that has been a look at the Tapo app for the Tapo Outdoors. The only thing from the settings that I really thought I would like more than I did was the tampering setting. The tampering got set off with bugs flying by, with a spider that crawled across it, a web. I thought it was if somebody shook it or sprayed water on it, but again, if this is outside, if it's raining, and depending on how you have this, well, water's gonna get on the lens. So it notified me a lot more than I thought it would. And I mean, even with, because you could see around the lens, there is a little channel trying to keep water away from that. It was the one nuisance that I had with the app and the notifications from this. Application is all well and good. We know what we can do with this now. More questions. How does it sound? I know you can use it to talk to people and they can hear you. Well, how good are the speakers and microphone on the Tapo Outdoor? Well, let's take a listen.
Tapo Outdoor Audio Test. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
As expected with an outdoor camera, the audio, not terrible, serviceable in my opinion. I've had others that have done a little better, but still understandable. And the distance I was away from the camera might not be exactly noticeable. Now, the next thing you're gonna wanna know, aside from how does it sound, is how good those 2K images are that you get from this. Well, I'm going to break those out into their own separate video up there in the corner because I want to preserve the 2K goodness that you would get with this camera and not have to downscale them for this particular video. So look for those sample clips up there. I did night, I did day, I did LEDs, I did weather, I did in the rain, lots of things for you to look at. One last thing to consider with something like this, if you happen to be in an Alex A home or a Google home, does it work with the TP-Link Tapo Outdoor? And I can say yes, it does work with both your Google Home and your Alex A devices. If you have one with a screen, it will bring up your outdoor images. If you have those types of devices, this can talk to them. It's great. You know what you're getting. You want it to be able to do that. All in all, for a device from a company that I knew of, but a brand that I was not aware of, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the Tapo Outdoor. I thought that Tapo was going to be TP-Link's lower tier product line. However, based on pricing, it is not. In some cases, the Tapo brand products are slightly more expensive than the Casa brand products, which is what I'm more familiar with. This, however, falls well within the range of what you'd expect to pay for a wired outdoor security camera. But because it doesn't require a subscription and has person detection for free, which is something that I always look for in a product like this, that price that you pay for this is actually lower than you would have with other products that make you pay for a subscription. So keep that in mind when you're comparing the Tapo Outdoor to other outdoor security options. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised with the Tapo Outdoor. I did not think I would like a wired outdoor security camera. I normally operate using battery powered security cameras, but I'm gonna say, if you are in the market for a wired outdoor security camera that gives you the option of Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and you want it from a company that you know, I highly recommend checking out the TP-Link Tapo outdoor Wi-Fi security camera. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.